Thank you very much for being with us, Mr. Hargan. But as to health, how's Secretary Azar? Is he ill this morning?
I don't have any knowledge of it.
Well, I know he was offered all week to be here. This is the second week he's been offered an opportunity to come, and it's almost as if the administration has a policy of being fearful of sending its cabinet members to be questioned. Indeed, on the tax bill, we couldn't get anyone at any level of the Trump administration to come and answer questions and be held accountable about the hypocrisy in the bill. So I do find it troubling that he has not come to respond on some of these issues, and all the more so because of what happened yesterday, and that is the decision of the administration down in my home state of Texas to once again throw in the towel with our indicted Attorney General, and not only to go after pre-existing conditions, which you've been doing, but to say that you favor, as our Republican colleagues did 60 or 70 times, the total repeal of the Affordable Care Act. And I don't see anything in your budget that would provide comparable care for the tens of millions of people that will lose out if you and the Texas Attorney General are successful in destroying the Affordable Care Act, which our Republican colleagues tried so often but were unable to do anything about. Let me ask you, since I'm sure we're not going to agree on that, about one issue that I would hope we could agree on that you referred to in your testimony, though I don't see it anywhere in the fine print, and that is this whole question of prescription drug cost and whether we can save taxpayers and seniors anything on that. Candidate Trump made it very clear that he could save hundreds of billions of dollars on prescription drugs, and it seems to me that this budget really abandons that. It goes around the edges. It does not deal with what candidate Trump said on January 11th of 2017, among other times, that we're the largest buyer of drugs in the world, and yet we don't bid properly. And he said we could save hundreds of billions of dollars, and of course he's right. The estimates are up to $500 billion in annual in 10-year savings that could be had by negotiating drug prices. I don't see anything in this proposal that calls for the negotiation of drug prices, and I would just ask you if the administration is abandoning candidate Trump's promise that we bid, as he talked about it, that we negotiate drug prices in order to protect seniors and to protect taxpayers.
We welcome all of this. We welcome this issue. The president is very dedicated to lowering drug prices for Americans.
So far, he hasn't been too successful, but he has reiterated his desire, and I hope there could be some bipartisan action on this.
We have the first lowering of drug price inflation in 46 years.
Well, he didn't run on a promise that he would keep prices from going up quite as much as they had before. He said he was going to do something to lower them and save us hundreds of billions of dollars. And there's nothing in this budget to do that.
We have seen the actions that have been taken have resulted in companies lowering drug costs for cholesterol medicine, for diabetes medicine.
They've lowered it where they had competition to meet. And I agree with you that competition is a good way to deal with this problem. But unless there's negotiation, as the president himself pointed out when he was a candidate, you don't get where we need to be. And in that regard, I will move from prescriptions directly into one specific prescription and another issue you mentioned, which is the opioid crisis. We know that the price of naloxone from one provider went up about 700%. At the same time, our first responders all over the country were being told to stock it. Chris Christie, who headed the President's Opioid Commission, and more recently, the Office of National Drug Control Policy, Jim Carroll, in testimony to the Oversight Committee here within the last month, have agreed that what we need to do is at least, if we can't get comprehensive negotiation through Medicare, we ought to at least negotiate down the price of naloxone, which can help respond to the fact that we are seeing so many Americans every day, an average of 115 every day die of overdose. Do you agree with Mr. Carroll and with Chris Christie and his commission that we ought to be negotiating on the prices for these overdose drugs?
We believe that the most popular form of naloxone, which is Narcan, the nasal spray, is highly affordable. that there are other forms of naloxone that have higher prices, but we believe that it's widely available to all states and first responders.
Well, I don't agree with you. I thank you for your candor. You don't really think there's a problem on naloxone that needs to be negotiated.
We believe that it's highly affordable.
Thank you very much.
Gentleman's time has expired.